Hi everyone. Hello. How are you doing? Hope you're good. Hope you are fine. Hope everything is going on well with you. Welcome to Lawyers Info. This is a platform where we talk about law practice. We teach law, we share law experiences of other people to help you become better in your practice, to give you the leverage you need in excelling in your practice. So today we're looking at Offtake Agreement, Concession Agreement under Project Finance series. If you're yet to subscribe to this channel, please do hit the subscribe button, share this video and like same, drop your comments, ask your questions in the comment sections and you will receive answers. So in discussing this, we're going to talk about the definitions, what it takes to have an uptake agreement as a lawyer, what you can do when you're being briefed, by a company, an organization that want to, enter into such agreements and how to go about drafting the agreement. So you have to understand that the world is moving globally and for a nation, infrastructural development is key in the progress of its economy. So, um, issues of oil exploration, infrastructural development, these are issues or these are things that does not come easily. It involves a lot of money, and sometimes government may not be able to do them. So, third parties, individuals, companies are invited to come and help out, and there'll be some form of agreement on how it's going to happen, the liability of each party, what is expected of each party, and what have you. Now, as a lawyer with excellence, as a law student who is trying to become a lawyer, you need this information to help you in your practice. So, as a lawyer, you've been approached by a person, an individual, a company to say, okay, we want to enter or you want to be part of those who's going to construct this road, get this mining thing here and there. We need your advice. What are the agreements we can that is expected of us to enter with this part, the other party, for us to have a smooth operation. So we're going to look at these two very key agreements called the Optic Agreement and the Concession Agreement. Yeah, very, 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 very key. Now, project financing, just like I earlier said, is used by many countries, for cater for large scale projects, natural resource mining, issue of oil, gas, natural resources, independent power projects in the electricity sector, in the public sector, building of public buildings, roads, telephone network connection. These are massive projects that when it is to be done, involves a collaboration of many people, many interests in it, so that parties in this kind of arrangement will always want to have an agreement that will secure their own stand while they are, trying to be part of the project or why they're trying to invest their money. They must be guided. They must also know that their interest is also protected. So you must understand that project agreements, there are various forms, but majorly we're going to talk about these two. Now, offtake agreements and concession agreements are part of project agreements. We have other ones like the operating and maintenance contracts, government support agreements. There are a lot of them, so but our focus is on these two. You must also understand that offtake agreements are very important, because if someone, for example, is going to invest so much money in mining, for example, so he must ensure that as much as I'm mining, am I going to have available, you know, uh, what am I going to have available, buyers of this product? Am I going to have where I'm going to supply this product to be sold? For example, someone is helping for independent power projects. Where are we going to sell the power generated to? So these are many more things that are considered under Offtake Agreement. You know, an Offtake Agreement is a legal contract, yes, between two parties regarding specific amount of goods to be delivered from one party to the other. It's usually used by energy producer like coal mines, power plants, extracting of oil and gas. It can also be used in cases of toll transportation facilities. For example, toll gates have been mounted in different parts of this country. The companies that mounted those toll gates must have entered an offtake agreement with the government to say, okay, we're going to put this in, and what is our output, and we are sure that people is going to apply this road, and they'll be paying tolls for us to recoup from our investment. An offtake agreement may be made with the purchaser for the purchase of any output produced by the project. you know. Now, for the coal mines, someone is coming to a state, a governor, for example, is calling investors, come and mine. We have a lot of coal, we have a lot of things, mineral resources in our state. And the person, okay, how am I sure that there's a ready market for this? And those things will not be sorted out as, okay, we're going to have an offtake agreement that as I'm producing this thing, there's already a ready market for it. So in the offtake agreement, the offtake purchaser has to pay for an amount of project service or procure a certain amount of project output over a given time. It provides, a secure supply of the required product for off-taker and the ability to sell its products and secures the project payment stream for the project company. Now, the company producing makes sure that the produce is there, and the off-taker purchaser, gets this, products, and there's a ready market. So the company who is, doing the production is there, and the purchaser, who is the off-taker, is also there. So as we are producing, it's sure that there is an off-taker down who will pick up these products and sell, and we get our money back. Now, there are various types of offtake agreements. They come in various forms. It can come in take or pay contracts. A take or pay contract is a legal agreement between an off-taker of a facility output and the project company, under which the off-taker agrees to take the project's product or to make payments to the project company for its goods or services to maintain its capacity to produce and deliver the goods or service. What they take or pay contract is where the off-taker, there's an agreement between the company who's producing or the institution who's producing, which is called the project company, and the off-taker. The off-taker can bring money and say, okay, I want, for example, I'm using maybe limestone as an example. I want limestone. And they will state out the quantity he wants. And he makes cash deposit, he pays for those limestone. And the project company goes back to their mining, mining place, and begins to mine these things. And because the off-taker has already paid, so it's called take or pay contract. There's an agreement that, see, I'm paying for this and I'm getting it. Now, also, you must understand that the offtake purchaser makes payment whether or not the goods or services is generated at the purchaser's request. Therefore, the buyer's payment obligation for the capacity component is unconditional. Now, sometimes in a pay or take contract, payments are made to cover, operating costs, maintenance costs, debt service. See, the purchaser is saying, see, okay, I'm going to pay. They've agreed, I'm going to pay like 10 billion for so money for a specific period of time. And the project company said, okay, again, this is our capacity and what we can produce. The off-taker have not seen the products, but he's paying ahead, so they're producing for him. Sometimes he will pay for the maintenance costs, he will pay for every other cost that the project company needs, for them to function optimally. We have another type of offtake agreement called take and pay. The first one is take or pay, but this one is take and pay contract. Sometimes it's called the take if offered contract. This is called take if other contract. Requires the off-taker to take and pay for the project output or to pay the project company as if it did not take the output. See here, the off-taker pays only after whatever is taken, pays only for whatever is taken on an agreed price basis. You know, the first one is take or pay. Here, the off-taker just makes payment for maybe you want 30,000 tons of so he just makes payment and puts it up. But for the second take and pay, which is also known as take if offered, is the off-taker just pays for what he's already produced. It's not like he's paying ahead of time. If your capacity is just to produce 1,000 tons per day, he'll just pay for the 1,000 that he has seen. But the first one, he has not seen it, just say, I have the capacity to produce 10,000 or 100,000 tons of so, and the off-taker goes ahead to just pay. But for the second one, which is the take and pay, the off-taker must see what he is buying. You know, it's very important. We have the blended contract. It's another form of Uptake Agreement. The blended contract, they are created to include both the take or pay and the take and pay contract. Now, the blended contract is a combination of take or pay contract and take and pay contract, whereby the take or pay is where the off-taker haven't seen it, but he has made payments ahead for the production of those specified products. But the take and pay is that the off-taker is just paying for what he's seen that has been produced or that has been gotten out for him. So the blended contract is a combination of both, whereby maybe the off-taker will pay ahead and sometimes also pay for what is being produced for him. We have the long-term sales contract, we have the hedging contract. These are the various types of Optic agreements we have. We have the throughput agreement. Throughput is usually used in the oil and petroleum product pipeline finance. Uh, these are the various forms of offtake agreements we have: the throughput agreement, the hedging contract, the long-term sales contract, the long-term sales contract here, where the off-taker agrees to buy contract quantities of project from the project based on market prices at the time of purchasing or based on agreed market index. Here, the off-taker says, see, I'm going to buy these things based on what is the prevailing market rate. So that's the long-term sales contract. We have the blended contract, just like I told you, is a combination of the take or pay and the take and pay contract. So we have the take or pay contract, we have the take and pay contract. These are the various forms of off-take agreement that we have. Now we're going to go back to the concession agreement. So concession is usually used in our climb and jurisdiction. So they have a concession on this, there's this concession contract here and there. So what is concession agreement? So concession agreement is entered between public sector entity and the project company, under which the project company must operate, and the types and period of concessions are always specified. A company says, okay, we're going to build toll gates into so expressway, and we're going to construct that road and build tolls so that we can get back the funds we use in building the road. Now, the project company now enters a concession agreement with the government to say, okay, we have built this road. You're going to give us 15 years or 10 years, within which we are going to get back the funds we used in constructing this road from commuters on the road. So it's like a concession agreement. They have agreed there's a specified time limit on a concession agreement. These concession agreements are used basically, where there are upgrades of roads, revamping of a public institution or buildings and all of that. Sometimes 10 years, 20 to 30 years, after which the transfer of the ownership is now moved to the government. So the aim of the aim is to provide service rather than product to the public entity. See, for example, there is no road. I always use that's mostly what we use. Sometimes the majority of the concession agreements are mostly on roads, but there's also other mining. Okay, we're going to mine. You have lots of limestone or whatever. We have gold in this state or whatever resources you have. You're going to mine it and allow us to, charge for it. And then when we retrieve back our money, we're going to give you back. So concession agreement works that way. It contains the detailed obligation and right of parties, and also creates right and obligation to build own and transfer ownership to the host government, infrastructure for the general benefit of the population. So after the number of years has elapsed under which the concession agreement is being made, ownership is transferred back to the government. Very, very important. So we are going to look at the various forms of concession agreement that we have. It comes in various structures for concession agreement. We have the BOT, which is called the build, operate, and transfer. So under this one, so you're gonna build it, you're gonna operate it for this number of years, and then you transfer it back. After you have recouped your expenses, your financial expenses, then you're going to transfer it back to us. That's the BOT. This under the BOT, the government requires the private promoter, the private project finance company to design, build, and operate the facility for the agreed number of period or years, then transfer the ownership back to the government free of cost. Yeah, so as they're transferring it back to the government, they do not owe the company again. So you build, you operate, and you transfer. So there are a lot of BOTs here, and a lot and lot of them. There are a lot and lot of BOTs. So we also have another form of concession agreement called the BOOT. The boot is called the build, own, operate, and transfer. So you build it, you have ownership rights over it, you operate it, and before you transfer, just as the name sounds. You have another one, the BTO, which is you build, you transfer before you operate. That means after you have built it, you transfer to the government and you start operating in the BTO. So we have the BOT, which is build, operate, transfer. We have the BOOT, which is build, own, operate, and transfer. We have the BTO. This is you build it, you transfer it before you start operating. So the various forms. So we have the BOO, that is the build, own, and operate. This time, government is giving you this thing to build it, you own it, and you operate it. So issue of control title, rests with the project company under BOO, which is the build, own, and operate. We have BLT. BLT is build, lease, and transfer. Build, lease, and transfer. Just as their name sounds, it denotes what the agreement is going to be like. We have the BOST, that is the BOST, build, operate, share, and transfer. Build, operate, share, and transfer. So the forms of concession agreements we have, depending on, so when your client comes to you and say, this is the arrangement we're having with the government, this is the arrangement we're having with the state, this is the arrangement we're having with this institution or organization, they want us to build, you're going to pay for certain years and then give it back to them. To understand, are you going to own it? Are you going to, transfer to them before you own it? How are you going to retrieve your money? Is it going to be a BTO agreement? Is it going to be a BOT agreement? Is it going to be a build, own, operate? Is it going to be a build, lease, transfer? So these are the various forms of agreements under the concession agreements that we have. So you have to understand this so that when you're providing legal solutions to clients that come to you, you must be able to understand exactly what the idea behind the arrangement is all about and which agreement fits perfectly into the arrangement. So the offtake agreement and the concession agreement are kind of similar, though there are similarities, and also there are differences. So in terms of similarities, issues of control, compensation for additional cost, change in law, latent defects, these are things that you can see in both of them, even though they have their differences. So issue of duration, when is it going to last, control, just like earlier said, compensation for additional costs. So these and many more are the things you're going to see that are kind of similar in both agreements. So we're going to also look at their differences. What are the differences? There are many differences. One, you see that in the definition, both of them are different. Why an offtake agreement is the legal contract between a project company and an offtaker, which obliges the offtaker to possess all or part of the producer's future product at an agreed price and volume. Whereby concession agreement just you provide service to a contracting authority, collect tolls, then depending on the arrangement, before you now return it back to the government. So these are many more differences, even different in terms of their definition, in terms of the aims and objectives are different, in terms of the nature and scope. These are the way you see the differences. Yes. So we're going to, before we conclude, we're going to look at the of how to draft an offtake agreement. Do you understand? And also the features are also similar with that of a concession agreement. How do you draft it? This is very key. Now, for an offtake agreement, you have to understand when your client comes to you to say, okay, I need this offtake agreement, or we're going to do an offtake agreement, or you decide you from his story or their story, you'll be able to understand that what you need to do for them, or is an offtake agreement, or you tell them, okay, this is an offtake arrangement, so we're going to do an offtake agreement. So you must understand what is the quantity of products. You remember in offtake, you're talking about products. So we look at what is the quantity, what is the purchase price, what is the specification, and what is the consequence of supplying non-conforming product. If someone is saying, I want this I want the supply, or I want a specific size, and you produce less than that, or in terms of weight, what is the consequences? These are things you're going to put in the agreement. Place of delivery, are they going to pick it up themselves? If you have a designated place to deliver the product, a transfer of title, risks and loss, transfer of title, risks and loss. At what point are we going to transfer title, and all of that? So these are the things that will be contained in the agreement. What is the supply period? Are you going to supply within the space of 3 months? Are you going to supply in the space of 4 months, 1 year? So these are the things that will be contained in the agreement. What are the delivery schedules? Is it going to be delivering every 2 weeks? Is it going to be delivery every 1 month? Is it delivery every 8 weeks? Is it delivery every 6 months? So these and many more are things that will be contained in the offtake agreement. What is the weighing schedule? You have to weigh it at what point, who weighs, who confirms. So these are many more like the agreements you're going to do. Then if you're going to do, if the market price is issued, you also have to discuss it. When will the market price change? Well, beyond when it's going to change, if there are unforeseen circumstances that might, truncate the agreement, issues of acts of God, issues of government restrictions, who bears liability, and all of that. Just that, these are many of the things you're going to put in the agreement, a termination of agreement, what can be done if there are issues, how do you reserve it? So these are similar things also add in the concession agreement. But in the concession agreement, depending on the type of agreement you're going to do with them, the people involved. So if it's build, own, transfer, how many years are you building? When are you going to transfer? What if within the period of the years you have agreed, you are not able to, get back the money you spent, the project firm or the project company spent in doing that infrastructure or building? What can happen? So you also put eventualities, indemnities, and all of that, additional cost, maintenance cost, and all of that. A standard, this agreement of this nature is technical. So if you don't even understand, if peradventure you've done it, you still need a third eye. Give it to friends, give it to senior mentors that can look at it for you, so that you understand that both parties are well represented in terms of what they desire, and also your client's rights are being protected. Issues of jurisdiction, and the fact that the people that, even for venture is a mining thing, do they have the right to mine? So these are do they have the right documentation, the right title? Do they have all the required government approval? So these are many more of the things you consider when you're drafting a concession agreement or offtake agreement. So friends, it's been a wonderful class. Project financing is very important. It's what is obtainable in our time and day now. So when clients come to you, you must be able to pull them through, guide them, analyze the whole situation and know which is best for them. If you're here to subscribe to this channel, please do hit the subscribe button, share this video, drop your comment, and also like it. Share to your friends. Someone needs this knowledge. The channel is aimed at just supporting the legal education in any little way we can, so that people can always have a hub where they can always get knowledge from. Do have a lovely time. Do have a lovely week. Do have a lovely day. Do have a lovely month. Enjoy yourself and know that you can always be the best that you want to be. Take care.